Time for your final theme presentation, Theme 5 of RED 6544 with the essential questions. How do we tie everything together? What does it mean for diverse learners? So in this presentation, we'll talk a little bit more about that focus. We'll look at the readings and assignments, and we'll go into a little bit more depth with the comprehension strategy project, which is the last of the curricular quartet pieces. Again, that focus is how do we tie everything together and what does it mean for diverse learners? So for each of our themes preceding this one, we had an essential question. So we're thinking about those 4 essential questions and how we piece them all together, giving all of the learning that we've done so far this semester. In particular, we're looking at and asking the question, what does it mean for diverse learners? So there will be some additional readings this theme that address specifically students who are ELL, but also students who are identified in different ways with other diverse needs. So a little lighter reading this time. I figure if you've made it this far in the course, you deserve a slightly lighter theme reading. You'll be reading Chapter 15 from Harvey and Goodby, Chapter 9 from Keene and Zimmerman. You'll be reading an article that I wrote, which you can find in the Theme 5 module. And then under the Files tab in Canvas, there's a folder called ELL, or ELL readings. And I just would like for you to look through the readings that are available to you and select one that is of interest to you and read that. So for each of those readings, you're thinking back to those 2 essential questions of how do we tie everything together and what does it mean for diverse learners? And you'll piece together your learning from those readings in learning log number 5. Then the other 2 assignments that you have for this theme are your teachers as readers. This will be your final forced reading for pleasure. And then your comprehension strategy project, which I'll talk about next. So the goal of this project is to show how you would implement the strategy you researched in the comprehension strategy paper. So really at this point, you've done all of the background research into this particular strategy, and now essentially what you are doing is designing a professional development for your peers that shows how you would implement this strategy. Because this is a summer course, you aren't actually able to implement it with a student, or I make that assumption broadly, even though I know some of you are still working with children over the summer. But given that it is summer and many of you are not in schools at this time, this is more of this is what I would do if I had the opportunity, and you're thinking about it more as professional development for others. As opposed to the actual implementation. So you'll do this through a PowerPoint, or Keynote or any of those types of tools. But you're also more than welcome to try different presentation styles. If you do use a PowerPoint or a Keynote, make sure that you're including presenter notes. So the PowerPoint slide should be what you would want to see if you were sitting in a professional development, but the presenter notes are then more to demonstrate your thinking, so I understand where you're going with the work that you've done. So those presenter notes will need to be included when you upload your project. As always, the directions, the rubric, a template, and examples, those are all included in Theme 5 module on Canvas. The rubric and a description are also in the syllabus for more information, but you should have plenty of information to do this work. So again, this is another critical task and it must be uploaded chalk and wire by the deadline. So in good news, if you've made it to this point in the Theme 5 presentation, that means that you have made it to the end of the class and just have a few more things to wrap up. Some things to consider as you're moving forward. So when you're thinking about strategy instruction and what it means for your students as they develop, ultimately the goal is that you no longer have to teach that strategy and no longer need to assess for it because the students are demonstrating to you that they're able to utilize those strategies seamlessly and make selections about appropriate strategies to use depending on the text that they're reading. So ultimately you want to try to work a strategy out of a job. Not in the sense that your students wouldn't be using the strategy anymore, but in the sense that if you start using or teaching the strategy at the beginning of a year, um, it really should not be something that you continue teaching all year to all students. And if it is, then you probably need to back up and ask yourself why. Chances are it means that it developmentally was not appropriate, or you have not done enough assessment to determine whether the students still need the strategy. So that's the thing about strategy instruction, is that usually when they're needed, it's very apparent. But when they're not, it takes some sort of responsive assessment in order to make that determination. And it could be that you have to go back to it depending on the type of text and if you're introducing a new text. But ultimately, we want students to be able to use these without our support. So something to think about as you move forward. As in all of your courses, you should be receiving, if you have not already, linked to course evaluations. I do take your feedback very seriously, as I stated way back in the beginning of the semester, so I appreciate you completing these for my own use. On another note, this is also how we are evaluated in our job. Just like those of you in classrooms receive your evaluations, so it's helpful for me to have more of you complete them because it makes the data more reliable. So I ask you to do that for those reasons. More importantly, because I utilize the feedback in developing my courses in the future, but also, as I know you can understand, because it's how I keep my job. So if you wouldn't mind doing that, I would really appreciate it. Thank you for all of your hard work this semester, and please don't worry about reaching out to me at any time. I'm happy to answer questions for you and work with you in the future, even if you aren't enrolled in my course. So take care.